Big news coming out of Bellator.
Yeah, effective immediately, Bellator president and CEO Bjorn Rebney has resigned from the company.
That's it. Just effective immediately, done.
Well, there is a little bit of background to this story. If you want the extra details, I can share them with you and our audience.
Absolutely.
Well, you remember that a few years ago, when Bellator came to Spike TV, Viacom purchased a majority stake in the company, correct?
Yeah.
Well, apparently since that day, they have been in a contentious relationship with Bjorn. We were not aware of this. It was not public knowledge, but they wanted to take Bellator in a different direction than Repney did, and the two sides were constantly butting heads over it. And I guess it finally came to the point this year where they decided we would rather have former Strikeforce CEO Scott Coker as our president, and coincidentally, his no-compete clause with Zuffa expired a couple months ago.
Really, Scott Coker stepping in.
It's not official yet, but that appears to be his replacement. That's the man they were looking for, but they had to wait until he was no longer contractually obliged.
Now, do you think the uniqueness of Bellator will disappear?
Oh, boy, that's a tough call. I don't know that Bellator can't continue to be an exciting promotion and a good rival to UFC with or without him, but I do believe that the heart and soul of the company is going to be lost in the process because Bellator is Bjorn Rebney. I mean, he founded it. It was his idea. I really don't know it's hard to judge how the company will be anything like it was without Bjorn there because he was the driving force behind it.
I'm just afraid that with Bjorn's leaving, that Bellator will just be another run-of-the-mill promotion. It won't have that unique factor that, it needs to survive in this convoluted landscape we call mixed martial arts.
In hindsight, if you look at some of the recent Bellator press releases, you can see that was already starting to happen though. Like the one they sent out recently that anyone who won a tournament was now for life a competitor to a title. Like you don't have to go through another tournament to get another title shot. If you won a tournament in the past, you qualified to get a title shot at any time. So the writing was already on the wall with press releases like that.
Yeah, but when you and I both woke up this morning, we didn't expect to hear this news.
No, this is definitely a stunner. It's pretty wild to think that in the course of 24 hours, we've seen Bjorn Rebney leave and Scott Coker be hinted at as the new head of Bellator. A few years ago, nobody would have ever predicted that set of circumstances.
Now, do you think this will hurt maybe Bellator in the short run, but you gotta think as well, does this in any way affect TNA Wrestling, another property that Viacom has a significant interest in?
In fact, if you asked me which of the two is in better shape right now, I'd say Bellator because there hasn't been any talk of renewing Impact, even though Impact's contract is coming up, whereas there are Bellator events scheduled for Spike TV well into the future. So I think they're actually probably happier with Bellator right now because even though Impact may do a slightly bigger audience on Thursday nights, MMA is hotter right now than Impact Wrestling. I don't think anybody can even seriously make that statement for 2 seconds and not immediately think Impact is it's like the movie Frozen. It's just a cold block of ice. Let it go.
Only Angry Marks, so we talk Frozen, we talk mixed martial arts.
Well, no, we're talking Frozen when we're talking Impact Wrestling, but Bellator is pretty hot right now. It's hot like lava.
I just wonder, 6 months from now, we're going to have the same discussion. Is this a better product with Scott Coker as opposed to Bjorn Rebney? Only time will tell, that's for sure, but I don't know. I don't have the confidence in Scott Coker I had in Bjorn Rebney in this product we know as Bellator. Coker had it and he failed. He had to sell it to UFC. Now he's given a second bite at the apple, so to speak.
That's an overstatement. That's a reach. He signed too many stars in too short an amount of time, and their contracts were too expensive. Nobody will disagree on that. But before that point, he successfully guided Strikeforce from a regional kickboxing, Sancho, and Muay Thai type promotion in San Jose, California, into being a nationally touring MMA promotion with distribution on the Showtime network. So, I don't think you could call it a failure. I mean, yeah, ultimately he sold to Zuffa, but I wouldn't say he was a failure before that point. I think Scott Coker can be an effective CEO as long as he's not trying to sign a bunch of stars with six-figure salaries.